Troy whirled to face me, his expression twisting. See, this negativity, this toxic resistance. You're not a culture fit for the new Viridian. He puffed out his chest. You're terminated. Collect your things. I want you gone before this meeting adjourns. The room inhaled sharply. Sam actually stood up. Troy, you can't. Sit down, Sam, Troy barked, or you're next. I looked at Troy. I looked at the screen where my life's work had just vanished. I looked at my team, their faces etched with fear. And then my phone buzzed on the table. It had been buzzing for weeks, a blocked number. I knew who it was. I had ignored every call out of a misplaced loyalty. Loyalty to Martin, who gave me my first big break. Loyalty to the code. Loyalty to the team. I picked up the phone. The screen lit up. You know, people always say to ignore the warning signs. But if you're enjoying the spectacle of a company self-destructing in real time, maybe do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. It tells the algorithm you're here for the real-world drama, and honestly, it keeps me typing instead of screaming into a pillow. Okay, back to the implosion. I looked at the caller ID. It wasn't blocked this time. It read Apex Systems. Troy was still ranting about agile methodologies and innovation ninjas. He thought he'd broken me. He was waiting for tears, for pleading. I swiped to answer. This is Alex, I said. The voice on the other end was polished, professional. Elias Vance, Senior VP of Technology at Apex Systems, the very corporation poised to acquire Viridian for $400 million the following week. Alex, Elias said, we haven't received your response to our offer. We're finalizing our due diligence on Viridian tomorrow. Between us, reviewing their tech stack, you're the only asset that piqued our interest. The rest is concerning. I looked directly at Troy, who was smirking, arms folded. Yes, I said into the phone, my voice clear and carrying. I accept Apex's offer. Troy's smirk dissolved. Who is that? I can start immediately, I continued, ignoring him. In fact, my schedule has just become unexpectedly clear. Elias paused. That's swift. Is everything all right on your end? Everything is optimal, I said, locking eyes with the CEO's nephew. I'll see you in an hour. I hung up. I closed my laptop with a soft click. I stood and slowly wound my charging cable. The faint zipping sound was the only noise in the tomb's silent room. Best of luck with the deploy, Troy, I said. I walked to the door. I didn't glance at the catastrophic screen. I didn't look back at my team. I walked out of the boardroom, the sound of my shoes on the epoxy floor echoing, leaving behind half a decade of my life in a digital ecosystem hemorrhaging into nothingness. Troy shouted something behind me, something about insubordination and calling security, but the words were muffled, irrelevant. I was already calculating. Atlas Core managed the authentication tokens. Without it, the admin panel would lock everyone, including Troy, out in under an hour when the cached sessions expired. He didn't just fire me. He sealed himself inside a sinking ship and welded the hatch shut. The walk to my desk was 50 feet. It felt like crossing a frontier. The open plan office of Viridian hummed with its usual mid-morning chaos. Sales teams high-fived over closed deals. Marketing debated color palettes. The espresso machine screeched. None of them knew the company was already a ghost. They were dancing on a grave that hadn't yet been dug. I reached my station. A standing desk with triple monitors, a mechanical keyboard that clacked like rainfall, and a single stubborn succulent I'd kept alive against all odds. I retrieved a cardboard box from the supply closet, ironically a welcome aboard box for new hires. I didn't pack much. My custom keycaps, my noise-canceling headphones, a small framed photo of my dog, Sigma. I left the company hoodie. I left the branded water bottle. I left the 5-year service award, a chunk of cheap plastic already clouded. Alex. I turned. It was Ben, our lead systems admin. Ben looked like he communed directly with server racks, pale, perpetually vibrating with caffeine, wearing a t-shirt that read, "It's not a bug, it's a feature." He was the only other person who understood the infrastructure's soul, usually because he was the one roused at 3 a.m. when it wept. "Is it true?" Ben whispered, glancing toward the glass-walled boardroom where Troy was now wildly drawing on the smartboard. Did he really nuke the Atlas module? "He didn't use the command line, Ben," I said, dropping a stress ball into the box. "He used the graphical interface. He clicked delete and then confirmed. He thinks he's decluttering." Ben's face lost all remaining color. "But the API gateway, the load balancers, they depend on Atlas for routing. If it's gone, the health checks will fail in about..." He glanced at his watch. 8 minutes. Then the autoscaler will try to spin up new instances to compensate, which will pull from the main branch. I finished for him. The one Troy just pushed to. So the new instances will be born broken. It'll be a cascade failure loop. The cloud bill will look like a phone number. Ben looked horrified. "I have to stop the deploy." "Don't," I said, my voice sharp. He froze. "What?" "He fired me for obstruction, Ben, explicitly. If you intervene now, you're undermining the new head of product. You're obstructing his vision." I leaned in slightly. "He has admin access. If you try to roll it back, he'll see it. He'll fire you too, and you've got a new mortgage." Ben swallowed hard. He looked at the server status dashboard glowing on the wall. All lights were a serene, deceptive green, the calm before the scarlet storm. "So, we just let it burn?" "It's already burning, Ben. We're just waiting for the alarms to sound." I hefted my box. "Do me a favor. Don't fix it. Not tonight. Let him experience what lean truly feels like." Ben looked at me with a mix of terror and dawning understanding. He gave a slow, grim nod. "I didn't see you. I was in the server room." "Good man." I walked toward the elevators. The scene felt surreal. The head of sales was celebrating a massive quarterly deal. His commission check would never clear. The company's valuation was tied to a technology that was now consuming itself. As I waited, my phone buzzed. A Slack notification. My access wasn't revoked yet. It was from Sam in the boardroom. He's trying to run a manual build. It's throwing a cascade of 5003 errors. He's yelling at the terminal. I didn't reply. I simply deleted the app from my phone. The elevator doors opened. As they closed, I saw Troy storm out of the boardroom, his face a mask of confusion and rage, clutching his laptop. He scanned the room, looking for me, looking for a scapegoat. Our eyes met through the narrowing gap of the doors. I didn't smile. I didn't frown. I just stood there, holding my box of remnants, watching him realize his profound, irreversible solitude. The doors shut. The gentle descent of the car was the most peaceful sensation I'd felt in years. I emerged into the cool, misty air. It smelled of rain and distant salt, not of stale fear and failure. I hailed a cab. "Where to?" the driver asked. "The Apex Systems Tower in South Lake Union. The glass monolith." "Got it." I leaned my head against the window. My phone buzzed again. An email notification. "Your Viridian Dynamics credentials have been suspended." A faint smile touched my lips. He was quick with the admin panel when panicked, but he was far too late. I wasn't an employee anymore. I was the architect of their competition, and I was on my way to sell the only thing of real value, the blueprint in my mind. Apex Systems didn't have an open floor plan. It had architecture. The lobby was a vaulted atrium of steel and glass, with a living green wall that probably cost more than Viridian's Series B round. I walked to the reception desk, my cardboard box tucked under my arm like a relic. "Alex for Elias Vance," I stated. The receptionist didn't ask for ID. She simply smiled and pressed a button. "He's expecting you. Sky Lounge, 42nd floor." The elevator ride was silent and swift. My ears popped gently. The doors opened to a breathtaking view of the Sound. Elias Vance was waiting. He wasn't in a suit. He wore dark selvage denim and a gray merino wool sweater. He looked like a man who debugged complex algorithms before breakfast and negotiated 8-figure deals after lunch. "Alex," he said, extending a hand. "I didn't anticipate you being quite so available." "I believe in efficient routing," I said, shaking his hand. His grip was firm, assured. My previous route encountered a critical path failure. He chuckled, gesturing to a seating area overlooking the water. "Coffee, tea, something stronger?" "I'll take a sparkling water. I need a clear head." We sat. I placed my box on the floor. "So," Elias began, leaning back, "let's skip the corporate choreography. We've been trying to acquire Viridian for 8 months. Every due diligence report came back with red flags on their front end, their sales projections, their churn rate. But every time our engineers dug into the back end, the API latency, the database architecture, the encryption, it was immaculate." He looked at me intently. "That was you." "It was my team," I confirmed. "But the core architecture was mine. Built 3 years ago to solve scalability issues the founders considered future problems. And now you're here." Elias said. "And you said you were free." "The CEO's nephew decided to streamline the codebase about 90 minutes ago," I said, taking a sip of the mineral water that had appeared. "He deleted the Atlas Core logic module from the production branch." Elias's eyebrows lifted. "He deleted the optimization layer, the thing that makes the platform functional. Gone, and he terminated me for attempting to prevent it." Elias let out a low, thoughtful breath. He didn't look shocked. He looked like a chess player seeing a lethal move materialize. "So," he said slowly, "if we were to proceed with acquiring Viridian tomorrow, we'd be purchasing a facade, a UI with nothing behind it." "You'd be buying a 404 error dressed in a nice font," I corrected. "The data is there technically, but the engine to access it is deleted, and I'm the only person who can reconstruct it with any speed. The documentation was—" Troy considered documentation overhead. Elias smiled, a genuine one this time. "Alex, I'll be transparent. We don't want Viridian. We don't care about their brand or their logistics app. We wanted the underlying technology to power our new quantitative analytics platform. We were going to scrap everything else." He pulled a tablet from his bag and slid it across the glass table. "This is Project Horizon. It's what we wanted Viridian's core for. But since that core is currently in a digital death spiral, why don't we just build Horizon from the ground up, with the original architect?" I looked at the tablet. Schematics for a high-frequency, data-intensive trading platform. It demanded speed, security, and ruthless efficiency. Precisely what I had spent 5 years perfecting for a company that shipped boxes. You want me to rebuild it? I asked. Better, Elias said. I want you to be the founding engineering lead for Project Horizon. Equity stake, triple your Viridian salary, a team you curate, full autonomy, no founders' nephews. I studied the schematic. I could already visualize the code, the data pipelines, the improvements I'd make. A clean slate. No technical debt, no desperate patches for investor demos. And the Viridian acquisition? I asked. Elias tapped the table. Our letter of intent has a standard material adverse change clause. If the core technology is materially degraded during diligence, we can walk away. Zero penalty. He looked at me. Would you characterize the technology as materially degraded? I thought of the error logs currently flooding my former team's screens. I thought of Ben's exhausted face. I thought of Troy screaming at a compiler he couldn't comprehend. I'd characterize it as non-existent. Then we walk, Elias said, and we build Horizon. Do you have any conditions? 1, I said. I want to bring 3 people from Viridian once the dust settles. Sam, my junior dev, Ben, the sysadmin, and Layla from QA. Done, Elias said without hesitation. He extended his hand again. Welcome to Apex, Alex. I shook it. As I did, my phone vibrated in my pocket. I ignored it. I knew what it was. The crash loop had begun. The infinite billing cycle was spinning up. The fires were raging. And for the first time in 5 years, I didn't have to reach for a fire extinguisher. I asked for another sparkling water. You don't win by fighting the fire. You win by designing a better foundation. The first week at Apex was like stepping from a mosh pit into a soundproof library. People spoke in measured tones. Code reviews were brutal but constructive. Stand-up meetings lasted 9 minutes. I sat in my new office, an actual office with a door, migrating the mental blueprints from my mind into Apex's secure repositories. We were building Horizon on an Elixir-based stack, a transition I had pleaded for at Viridian for 2 years. Here, the request was approved in an email with 3 words: Resource request approved. Meanwhile, my phone was a portal to a silent digital apocalypse. I hadn't blocked Sam or Ben. Tuesday, 11:07 p.m. Sam, the autoscaler generated 22K in overage charges today. Troy is yelling that the cloud provider is fraudulent. He tried to edit a config file in WordPad. WordPad, Alex. He corrupted the encoding. Wednesday, 2:48 a.m. Ben, 38 hours without sleep. Every patch we apply to the routing table makes the front end throw cores errors. Troy keeps asking why we can't just undo the server state. I think he's weeping in his office. I read these messages with a detached curiosity. I typed back to Ben, check the Nginx config. He likely overwrote the proxy headers with his clean push. And Ben, go home. Let it fail. Ben replied, I can't. The demo for Apex is Friday. If it's not running, Martin will have an aneurysm. Ah, the demo. The legendary demo. I found Elias by the coffee bar the next morning. How's the Horizon skeleton? He asked. API framework is up. Latency is sub 8 milliseconds. It's elegant. Good, he said. Then a slight smirk. We're still scheduled for the final acquisition review with Viridian on Friday. Martin called, assured me the hiccup was a strategic optimization, and they're running smoother than ever. Is that so? He says his new head of product has personally overseen the rebuild, claims it's buttery. I assume you're sending a team to verify? I'm sending our VP of Product and Lead Counsel, Elias said. I was hoping you might join via a discreet video link. As a technical consultant, I considered it. The thought of watching Troy's face as reality crumbled held a dark appeal, but I shook my head. No, I don't need to see it. It's a deterministic system, Elias. Garbage in, catastrophe out. Fair enough. That night, a text from Layla in QA. They are hard coding the demo data, Alex. They couldn't fix the back end, so the front end is just displaying static JSON files. It's a house of cards. One click off script and it 404s. I stared at the screen. Hard coded data. The oldest vaporware trick in the book. It was fraud. I forwarded the text to Elias with a note. Ask them to filter the dashboard by Q2 of last year during the demo. The static file only has current month data. Elias replied with a single thumbs up emoji. Friday dawned, gray and damp. At Viridian, the atmosphere would be pure, undiluted panic. At Apex, it was Bagel Friday. I was deep in a code sprint when my second monitor, tuned to a private chat with Sam, Ben, and Layla, a chat I'd named Lifeboat, began to light up. 10:02 a.m. Layla, Apex team is here. Suits, lawyers. Troy is sweating through his shirt. Smells like cheap cologne and dread. 10:10 a.m. Ben, Martin is giving the intro speech. Resilience, next-gen vision. Troy is plugging in the HDMI. His hands are shaking. 10:18 a.m. Sam, demo starting. Troy is driving. Look at that responsiveness. Yeah, because it's loading a local file, you clown. I took a bite of an everything bagel. Elias was in that room. He had my note. The kill shot landed. The database wasn't connected. The archive was a fiction. I watched the real-time disaster unfold in my chat window. Troy typing into developer tools live. The 500 error, the lawyer's call out, Martin screaming. The $400 million deal evaporated in 45 minutes. A nepotism hire's arrogance met the unforgiving laws of software engineering, and engineering won. If you've ever had your work undermined by someone who didn't understand it, who valued buzzwords over substance, you know that specific fury. You know the feeling of watching something you built with care be dismissed as bloat by someone armed with nothing but entitlement. That story isn't just about code. It's about respect for craft. It's about the quiet builders versus the loud destroyers. So I need you to do two things for me. First, take that feeling, that recognition, and channel it into a single click on the like button below. That like is more than a thumbs up. It's a signal. It tells the algorithm that stories about real expertise, about quiet competence winning over loud incompetence, matter. It tells YouTube there's an audience for narratives where the person who actually does the work gets the last word. Second, tap subscribe to Wines of Thought. By subscribing, you're joining a community that values depth over surface, substance over style. You'll be the first to get our deep dive explorations into power dynamics, professional resilience, and the psychology of success in a world that often rewards the wrong things. We're building a library of stories for thinkers, for builders, for people who look at a complex system and see not bloat, but a beating heart. Your support fuels this channel. It allows me to keep dissecting these real-world dramas. So hit like, hit subscribe, and let's keep building something that lasts. Thank you for listening.